We
Okay.
now go into the question and answer session. So I will first look at the comments and questions in the Q&A box. Annette Squin says, given that there is less data about African context, does this not imply that AI will automatically be biased against us? We know AI struggles with recognizing Black faces, for example, as they are trained on white ones. If AI is trained on driving in European cities, will they be able to drive around a totally potholed street? Or will we just be left out of new innovations?
Indeed, so regarding the question about bias, absolutely. Bias comes from the data that the AI system uses, and most of the bias would therefore come from these websites that are scanned by AI systems and the large language models. And it was mentioned, for example, that most of these models were built on data from the West, if I can call it that. So, for example, images of African non-white people would feature less, and so the same is for females. So yeah, bias is definitely a big issue. Thank you.
Oh, is there a bias against female faces as well?
Bias against females simply because most of the data that is collected comes from the male community.
Ah, right. That is very interesting.
Yeah, Amazon has got there's a good case where Amazon has actually been approached about gender bias in their AI recruitment system. It's a good example of it.
Very interesting. So it really crucially depends on the data set. I mean, you can't accuse AI of being racist, but it certainly needs the correct data, which is a human responsibility.
Yes.
Right. Thank you. I'm sure it is true that a self-driving car will not cope with our streets, and yet that is such a wonderful opportunity to develop systems that can disregard the quality of the road and drive themselves through the danger, I would think. The next question is from Yusuf Mutara. Computing already frees humans from repetitive tasks. We don't need humans for it. Wouldn't the best application of modern AI be replacing, wherever possible, the class of worker that engages in limited creative acts? For example, it could largely replace copywriters, journalists, most managers, customer service, HR, and so on. This class of worker typically gets paid more than others, so this makes the most economic sense. My question is this: since this class of worker is already considered to be skilled, how do you think society should handle the issue of them becoming redundant?
Yeah, my screen is on. It's very, very difficult, and it's very, yeah, you ask me to comment on it because I do think about it very often and deep, and I don't have answers really, because it's relevant. We should think about it. It is changing the society very significantly. And the difference between the previous technological developments, if you start with the Industrial Revolution, that also changed society very significantly, but it happened over a longer period of time. The challenge here is that with the AI, it's happening in a very short period of time relative to our lifespans. Now you're going to find a person 40, 50 years old who's now not employable anymore. His skills are being replaced by AI. It's different if you are born and the skills of jobs are not available, are not required, then you train for jobs that are available. But for the current adult people, I don't have a quick answer or a wise answer to that one. Sorry.
Thank you, Peter. Attendees, if you want to comment, you can put up your yellow hand and I will allow you to speak.
Hi, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, can hear you.
Yeah, I'm a sort of youngster at the age of 76, still involved as a consultant, and one of my roles is as a copywriter. And I just find that AI helps me to be more creative, more productive. And what it cannot reproduce is my life experiences and my direct involvement in the things that I'm writing about. So I tend to focus more in my writing about the people and my own experiences. And that's something that AI, at least at present, can't do.
Candice says, excellent presentation, Ziad. Example of digital twin, please. Okay, Ziad unfortunately had to leave, so he won't be able to answer this question, but you can direct the question to us, or we can contact him for an answer. Delport Onflea says, what is EOH's approach to AI and Popia? That as well. Then Aletta Skoon says, since most of the data is created in the West and AI works on learning from the data that is out there, how can AI be developed that suits the needs of the majority of the world? Similar to the question that we had before, I think it's been answered. Delport Onflea says, AI causing market crashes due to being left alone, not only in warfare. That is a very interesting statement. Could you give some clarity about that, Delport?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, can hear you.
Yeah, sure. So I'm currently busy with my master's in ethics of AI in higher education, and I found a interesting article on flash crashes, which is trading done by artificial intelligence. Basically crashes on markets that happens on sell-offs, and if left alone, it caused quite a stir. There was one in 2010, and then there was another one after that. But if you Google flash crash 2010, there's a whole article on Wikipedia on it, on what in essence happened with AI trading and causing the sell-off, and then obviously people following it. Most of the losses was regained literally minutes later after the correction was made. But you know, if AI is left alone, these type of things can happen.
Right. That is very scary indeed. So what does one do to prevent that?
So I suppose if you leave it alone, then things like this can happen, and or after that, programming has to happen, not to trigger such events. But you know, there's other things, you know, where humans initiated a similar thing in the GameStop increase. There's a whole Netflix movie about it, where a lot of people started buying shares and causing GameStop shares to go through the roof. Now, no algorithm could stop something like that because of human intervention. But it's similar to that. You know, if the algorithm picks up something and you've put your parameters to do a certain thing, it will do that until it's stopped by some human, or you know, and that's why, you know, flash crashes or artificial impact on your markets can happen.
Right. Very scary indeed. I just think our level of our ability to concentrate for a long time is not sufficient to deal with AI. Okay, thank you very much, Delport, for that question and that comment. Would either of you like to comment about that, Peter or Anwar?
Yeah, let me comment on the flash crash. It's not very recent. I mean, there was a very famous flash crash that happened, I think, more than 10 years ago, with automatic trading. So there was just some logic built into trading algorithms, and they were left alone, unsupervised, and it caused a huge crash. But then it recovered very, very soon after that. People didn't actually lose money. It was just some theoretical loss in the value of their portfolio that was regained again. But I think in general, we must consider the AI. I think the very first speaker, Ziad, mentioned that it's, you had a quote there, it's a tool for humans to use, for humanity to use. And we can use it wisely, or we can use it in evil ways. So, I mean, in terms of trading, if you have trading bots out there, if you do it wisely, it can contribute to making the trading algorithms more effectively, and many other applications as well. So it's not inherently that it's going to cause damage. There are risks, but if we use our common sense and apply our knowledge, and I think this forum is exactly trying to achieve that, then it's going to be okay.
Oh, that's good to hear. Yes, it does seem like we, in people in all walks of life and professions, will have to learn what the implications are of AI and have some oversight role over whatever they're using.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Peter. Okay, returning to the chat, to the Q&A. David says this is not a question, but a comment, confirming what you list as risks. In the Netherlands, certain algorithms used by the tax authorities selected on the basis of individual background and maybe even race, leading to the fall of the Rutte 3 government. He's back, by the way, as Rutte 4. But the damage done was substantial, and some people even lost their homes. Government surveillance, therefore, can go wrong, seriously. David, would you like, is this Darby? Would you like to talk about that, Darby?
Hello, Jansie. Can you hear me?
Hi, Darby. Yes, we can hear you.
Jansie, there's not much more to add, just to say that this issue has been going on for about 4 years now. And it seems that the government in the Netherlands is still not able to resolve it. Now, I'm using this as an example, which we should heed. And I get very nervous if governments start looking into one's personal affairs and maybe use certain algorithms classifying you as, in terms of race, income levels, where you live, etc. So I see some dangerous issues. Of course, there's human beings behind these, but they created this monster. As I say, it seems that they are not able to actually get out of it at this stage. So it was just one comment I would like to make.
That is extraordinary. So this has been going on for some time.
Yes, approximately 3-4 years now. And I think that's one of the why we have to be very careful using these systems to actually identify possible fraudsters. And that's what this did. But it's selected on the basis of people's backgrounds, not in terms of real fraudulent actions. And that's what's gone wrong.
Yeah.
Just one more, possibly a long time ago, in engineering, we said, if you use computer programming, it's a little bit, it's in the same league, I think, as we are talking about now. If you use computer programming to design a specific, say, a beam that supports a bridge, if you like, and you don't know what you're doing, you could get into serious trouble, because the human, if that program brings out a beam of, say, 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters, you must be very careful to actually judge that answer from the computer. And that's being drilled into our engineering students, to say, you have to have some human judgment from what you get from these answers, because it can easily go wrong if you don't have that judgment. So don't always believe. Yes, you may have put the wrong things in and you get a wrong answer, but then you believe it because it's coming from the computer.
Right.
And it's so dangerous. You have to actually talk or talk yourself through it and make a human judgment. Thank you, Jansie.
Thank you, Dawie. I just want to explain that Dawie Botha is the chairperson of ProSet, which is the professional society sector of NSTF. And this discussion forum is being held under the auspices of ProSet. It is scary to think what disasters AI can cause. And of course, we're also saying that it's not AI causing it. It is the people who are using AI as the gardening assistant that are not doing proper supervision, if I understand correctly. But the problem is just that people are lazy and they won't want to go through each detail of a program to see if it's correct, or to go through the details, like Dawie says, of a beam that has been automatically designed for a bridge and find that it's inadequate. So the skills that are needed, I think, in future from now on are critical thinking skills, attention to detail, and superb concentration, seems to me. Anwar, I think you wanted to comment.
Yeah, just a very brief comment on the previous speaker's comment. Here's a scenario, a nightmare scenario. These large language models, some of them are available as open source resources. So it is quite possible for a group of individuals to get together, set up a system in their garage or basement, implement a ChatGPT similar sort of technology, and generate deepfakes in all areas. One of the concerns, for example, that the US administration has is with the coming elections, it will be so easy now for people to generate all kinds of messages, videos, audios that will send out all kinds of misinformation about, for example, the candidates. But this is just one application. I mean, it can be used for all sorts of other nefarious applications, like demanding a ransom, given a audio, I think it's in the chat, even an audio generated voice trail of a person. So the problem is not the technology itself, it's the use of technology. I think Peter has also mentioned this. And we need, we can put down policies, frameworks, guidelines, regulations, laws. But as we know, laws are as good as them being enforced. So it's not just a national issue, it's a global issue. And there is widespread concern about the possible misuse and abuse of AI.
Right.
Just a comment.
Yes.
Thank you.
An important comment. Yes, Mike Bruton.
Yeah, I just want to comment that it's many speakers have said that you can use technology for good or evil. And I want to give an example of a good use of AI in the museum world. So I'm very involved in the design of museums and science centers internationally. And one of the recent technologies is to have sort of avatars telling one about a particular exhibit. And they would dictate a commentary and give the same commentary over and over to different groups of people. Now with AI, the avatar can actually ask the audience to make comments or ask questions, and then can actually generate novel answers to those questions and take the interpretation of the display to a whole new level. And the more questions and comments that received from the audience, the deeper the AI avatar can go in explaining the significance of a particular display or artifact or specimen.
My goodness. That is fascinating. Thank you, Mike. Yes, I think it's AI is very good in a controlled environment like that, a closed environment where there are people in charge of checking that it is telling the correct things, doing the correct things, able to intervene if it isn't. That seems extremely useful. Okay. Gordon Branson says, good morning, very interesting presentation from a corporate business lens. I think he's referring to Ziad's presentation, with indeed an enthusiastic message and no doubt a cautionary humanist approach message will also be welcome. For example, how does one ensure consent by the customer, i.e. non-AI versus AI-generated products or services? And is this not a human rights issue of great concern that requires a whole of society constitutional discussion rather than a corporate economic lobbying focus in order to articulate the potential future outcomes similar to the fossil fuel analogy and subsequent climate change or global warming consequences of the runaway fossil fuel corporate project, which is driving ecological extinction of species, however, has all the DNA hallmarks of the AI approach to boosting and unlocking the global economy. Thank you. Very interesting, Gordon Branson. Let's see how we're doing for time. We're actually out of time for answering of questions, but your comment is noted with some concern.